very little natural resources, but with abundant human capital. Taiwan industrialized by mining the huge human capital to no end and translating that starting from agro-industrialization to one. Anambra has gone even further than that. We have the largest automaker in the country here, and then others are still coming. We used to be called the new Japan of Africa. And so we say that we can really, jumpstart on that. And then the Silicon Valley, because we believe that tech is our future. And currently we're actually building our new Silicon Valley, the current government house and the environs, 13 hectares of land. We're now building a new Silicon Valley there. So we'll see that in terms of the vision, the new house that we must lay the pillars to build. But then, to drive these foundations on 5 key pillars. Number 1, security, law, and order. Without it, you can't go anywhere. Number 2, economic transformation and infrastructure. Number 3, human capital, which is Anambra's greatest asset. Human capital and social agenda. Number 4 is reforming the way government works and our value system. To be able to have an African Dubai, Taiwan, you need also the right kind of people with the right kind of values to inhabit it, and the way that government provides services efficiently, effectively, and transparently. Now, of course, with digitized services. Now, finally, the environment. Environment is Anambra's existential threat. As I said, we have the second smallest landmass, but in terms of effective land space available, we actually have the smallest, because about 1/3 of our land is encumbered by gully erosion. And Lagos is expanding through reclamation of land from the sea and so on. Ours we're actually losing quite a whole lot. So the environment is our existential threat. And so we're dealing with that in terms of flood controls, fiscal planning. We have to plan like no other place in the country. Flood controls, erosion controls, and fiscal planning, enforcements, and so on and so forth. Actually trying to replan the whole state for sustainability. That's the plan we came with. So, like I said, we came to this job, and as I said to the Anambra from day one, no complaints. I don't see more challenges, no complaints, no excuses. I knew what the challenges were before we came. I know the financial status of the state before we came. And I also knew the macroeconomic circumstances of the country in which we were going to operate. I knew that we were in for a tough season, or tough seasons ahead. But we were prepared. And today, I can tell you, it will be fair to say in broad terms that, and I hope we'll drill much deeper into this when we get on evaluating where we are on each of those pillars that we have laid out. But it will be fair to say that so far, so good. Some people tell me that even 2 years plus a few months, that we've actually surpassed several of the targets that we set for 4 years. This is 3 years. We still have 1 more year to go for the 4-year tenure.
I am worried about the fact that so many of our people are still lost to preventable diseases. And I'm inclined to ask you what, in tangible terms, you are doing about primary health care so that we can actually improve access to Medicare and stop the needless deaths that we experience, especially in the rural areas?
Thank you very much. I think you've touched a very, very important aspect of our journey. You may have heard recently that Anambra won the national prize as the national champion in area of primary health. We also won the prize as the Southeast Regional Champion. For the national prize, we were given, this is not an award like any other. It's one that you win a prize. We won $700,000 as national champion and $500,000 as the Southeast Regional Champion. In the area, this national primary health challenge. And there are quite a few things because we're very, very intentional about this. And in terms of the execution of our agenda. And everything that we have done, every aspect, every decision that we have taken, every program or project that we execute in the course of this overall master plan that we have, we're very, very intentional. Human capital, like I said, is Anambra's largest resource, especially in the area of health, education, and dealing with the vulnerable groups. With regards to primary health, of course, all manner of what we have now, we are refurbishing, or largely refurbished, 326 primary health centers in the 326 electoral wards. Infrastructure improvements, solar, water, equipment, recruited over 1,000 medical personnel since I came to end the era of medical facilities with no medical personnel, consultants, doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and so on. And then, of course, the secondary level, we're actually executing, using technology through telemedicine to connect the various wards to secondary call center, where if you live in a ward and you approach a primary health care and there is no service, the nurse there couldn't deal with that, you can actually dial up to a call center where you will be able to talk to a doctor through technology. And then secondary care level, we've now built 5 brand new general hospitals, refurbished, remodeled, and modernized 3 more, altogether 8. In fact, tomorrow, when we go to Oboko, we will be commissioning one of the general hospitals that has been in operation for almost a year now. And where also we ensure that, for example, we realize the mortality rate, especially through childbirth, high up. And we decided to provide this free of all costs, free antenatal with drugs. You go for antenatal services and you are given antenatal drugs and facilities, and free delivery with over, now benefited over 102,000 women gone through our free antenatal, free delivery services, with about 400 delivering through cesarean operations, all free of charge in Anambra. And you see the mortality rate, child mortality rate, almost to near 0. People have access to quality care. Like I said, we actually even give you free drugs and so on. We're spending quite a fortune. In terms of the tertiary, I think we're building what some say, I haven't seen the others, might be the largest trauma center in the country. It's now being equipped. It's delivered. It's at Amakwata Teaching Hospital there. We have a new smart nursing college that is up and coming. Depending if all goes well, it might be up and running before the end of the year. And then a comprehensive international cancer center that we now have a master plan and we're going to begin to do that. So our healthcare system is one that has a complete ecosystem, from tertiary, secondary, and with a big base at the primary. And the whole idea is like growing up, I remember many of the targets that were set much earlier. They would say everything for the year 2000. Health for all by the year 2000. Water for all by the year 2000. I think part of this thing, again, is you can't have this livable and prosperous, smart mega city. By the way, smart means technology. Our mantra here is technology everywhere and everything technology. You can't have that without having the infrastructure to really enable people to live a healthy life. It also involves cleaning up our places, basic hygiene, cleaning up waterways, waste management, cleaning up. For example, when I arrived in here as governor, some part of Onitsha, in fact, the major traffic way in Onitsha is called Ochanja Roundabout. It was a huge waste refuse. You come there, you stood on top of the place, you couldn't stand the stench. And you imagine that people were all around the place, and you have tens of thousands of people crisscrossing the place today. I'm sure they told me about something you used to measure the air quality. That for Onitsha then, it was one of the highest in the world in terms of being worse. But all that place is now being replaced with a water fountain. And it used to be the case that if it rained, much of Onitsha would be flooded, and people, floods will be getting up here for people. And you know what that then means, carrying diseases, carrying all manner of things around. Massive investment in that, in opening up drainages and cleaning up our environment and so on. So it's been a very, very comprehensive approach to lifestyle, approach to healthy living, which my wife pushes. Healthy living with Nanya Soludo'S say it's all about lifestyle. So it's not just about, preventive, it's also about lifestyle changes, about cleaning the environment. It's about having the necessary immunizations to the children and so on. So we are on course, and we're only just beginning.
All right, Mr. Governor, while responding to the question by Dr. Ruben, you spoke about the 5 pillars of development. Now let's look at these 5 pillars of development, and in the past 3 years, how would you rate your administration, what you've done, side by side, these 5 pillars?
In a nutshell, that's a short question with a very long answer. And I think my administration, they're putting together what I call the 120 sterling achievements over the last 3 years. And I think that will be made public very shortly. I think they're going to be publishing that digitally and otherwise. But in a nutshell, if you take them, these 5 pillars, one by one, summary form on security, law, and order. As you very well know, we just recently launched our new security architecture. We have had it when we assumed office. The entire state, 8 local governments were under total siege by the criminal gangs who, took over many of our forests and bushes and so on, claiming to be freedom fighters and so on, but actually a gang of criminals, kidnappers for ransom. And even my own local government, the entire local governments of the South, we couldn't campaign freely then. A colleague of mine, who was contesting on the Labour Party then, was going for a function, a rally, and his convoy was stopped and he was taken away. That was how bad it was then. But we came and declared war, literally liberated the 8 local governments, and began now to put, a new architecture in place. When we realized they've left no longer about the bushes and coming and shooting randomly, but now kidnapping, we've now crafted a comprehensive agenda, a new homeland security law that aims to get to the problem from the roots, tackling the nexus of drugs, cultism, land grabbing, kidnapping for ransom. And then also tackling the warped ideology and value system that continues to spin this, that continues to sell this new mantra, ideology or value system, that you could have something for nothing, that you could have wealth without work, you could have a crown with no cross. You don't need to suffer. So 9 o'clock in the morning, you have healthy youths drinking beer in the beer parlor and waiting for somebody to prepare charm for them, and they will become magically wealthy. All over the world, you'll find youths of Anambra in prison yards all over the world. In Indonesia also, I think they have 20-something youths waiting to be hung, killed. 20-something of them, one from Edo, the rest from Anambra. And this new thing becoming a wave and so on. And so we've gone down to it. Here, even for people who have, if you display some means, consumption pattern that cannot be explained, who can call you to question. And all these native doctors who are promising all those and advertising on social media. And our youths are moving the new mantra of get rich young or die trying. Who said to people, we got to get back to the basics, the fundamentals of our society. Anambra and Igbos are known for enterprise. Enterprise and integrity happen to be the foundation of our society, and we need to get back to basics. We're working hard on this with the churches, the communities, traditional institutions, everybody, the markets, everybody. We're mobilizing the people for collective security. If you see something, say something. And then for the kinetic approaches, we have invested, we have a new security outfit, and I must commend the former federal security agencies for their dedication to this. We're working very hard and cooperatively with them in this fight. And, you know, vehicles, provision for the security people, and technology. And so far, I think everybody now testifies. Our game is to reposition Anambra to be the safest place to live in Nigeria. And I think we are nearly there. Anambra is now very calm. That's on security. On infrastructure and economic transformation. That's a huge one. We've been receiving awards on that as on infrastructure and rural development, on economic transformation, and so on. So far with roads, for example, we declared Anambra a construction site, because when I came in, we had a road crisis. I said that even at the interview, at the debate, Ruben, if you may recall. I remember one of the candidates was just, that was the soft area the opponents saw through. And that is about, roads, decay. And I admitted that we had a road crisis, and that if I assume office, I would declare a state of emergency. And that we did. That Anambra, all over Anambra today, we have about 750 kilometers of road under construction. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt
you.
I think at this point we need to take a short break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Please don't go away. We'll be right back. And our guest is still Professor Chukwuma, Charles Soludo, CFR, Governor of Anambra State. We'll be right back.
Thank you. You're on your commercials.
conversation that we're having with Governor Charles Soludo on the occasion of his third year in office. We're reaching you live from Awka, the capital of Anambra State. Governor Soludo, you're just about to finish your thoughts on the 5 pillars and just how much work has been done in that area.
Okay, just and like I said, in a nutshell, the document will be available to the public, everybody to see the summary, to get the nuggets of that. I was just talking about infrastructure. Anambra has become one large construction site. In terms of road construction, we're about 750, crossing the entire 21 local governments, and more still being awarded. And over 420 completed, asphalted, with stone base, some with substantive stabilization, a quality Anambra hasn't seen before. We're completing an average of 12, asphalt an average of 12 kilometers a month, and with several iconic bridges and flyover, 2 iconic flyovers and 7 massive bridges. And then about 648 kilometers roads that will just under rehabilitation and maintenance made motorable again. And you get onto fiber optics, about 650 kilometers of fiber optic dots being laid around. We can't become a digital state without access, last mile connections to Wi-Fi and so on. And so in terms of infrastructure, we are actually racing very hard. 11 new housing estates under development already, not talking about the ones that government is building. I'm talking about the ones done under PPP arrangements. And like I said, all over the state is a construction site. Now we'll get on to economic transformation itself, whether it's in the area of commerce or digital economy, or the area of industrialization, where we're building a brand new industrial city, and so on and so forth. So it's a huge agenda there. Third, human capital. I just spoke a little bit about health. Education, it's a long topic, but that's actually another area where clear leader. Free education, truly free education, because we know we keep talking about it in the country, but when you come with all the charges and levies and so on and so forth, comes to thousands again. And we have free education, employed about 8,115 teachers. Because there is no education, no school without qualified teachers, competent teachers. And there's no smart education without smart teachers. And so we've prioritized all of this in our bid to make sure that we leave no one behind, but to build also the critical infrastructure required to really, truly make Anambra a livable and industrial state. You know, the African Dubai, Taiwan cannot happen without 21st century human capital in terms of the skill set. And the fourth, governance, reforming the way we do business. That is an area we've done very much, but in terms of character, content, philosophy of governance, very largely. Characterized by, well, getting government to function, to focus on core duties, getting down to transparency, deploying technology. We are rated #1 on fiscal transparency by budget, and #3 in terms of fiscal sustainability in the country. We've been able to put back our finances on a path to sustainability. And digitizing processes in government, court processes, our land administration has been digitized. I think that's the fastest in the country. In 2 years, we'll have over 98% now digitized. You can now have your CFO down from about 8 months to 7 days and still counting. Now on environment, I've actually mentioned a bit of it, a huge agenda on flood and erosion control measures, policies to keep our waste management, to keep our environment, clean and green, planted over 1 million trees to save the environment, not to talk about the 2.2 million coconut and palm and rare commodities trees that we have distributed to close to 200,000 households at 10 per household. This is both an economic agenda, but has profound implication for the environment because our soil texture is quite a little bit sandy and porous. So on the 5 pillars, just putting synopsis on them, we have been racing each day, but with the intentionality of connecting the dots, each of these 5 pillars. Everything we do, whether it is the new drug market at Oba that will become the largest open drug market in West Africa, or whether we're modernizing markets and building new ones, the format that will fit for the 21st century, whether we are building roads, whether we're building bridges or flyovers, or whether we are building new estates, residential estates, there is only one focus, and that is, for each one of them, how does it connect to the dots of building this African Dubai, Taiwan, a livable homeland that for any Anambra, we are an itinerant tribe, an itinerant people, we are in everybody's village, so that any person of Anambra origin or resident going anywhere will be by choice and not because the environment is hostile. And that's actually the focus of all of this, where we are driving to turn Anambra to become a prime destination.
It's interesting when you spoke about environment. The first thing that came to my mind was the external environment, the environment external to Anambra, and of course, the larger Nigerian environment. So I'm happy you did say that, we're very well aware of the the economic climate, the macroeconomic indicators. Of course, you're an economist, so you certainly have that at the back of your mind. What I want to know is, and this is a follow-up to Chris's question, how has that affected some of the things that you had in mind? I mean, because whilst, yes, you have these 5 great pillars which you're working with, the economic realities for everyday Anambra people, will be grim. Increased prices, of fuel, of food, and then generally the fact that you still have to work within the larger Nigerian environment, dealing with insecurity and also dealing with a lack of electricity to power some of those things.
That's a very interesting and important question. But like I said, before I applied for this job, as you very well know, my background, I came essentially from the international community, having consulted for about 21 international institutions, then came to the federal level. When there, I was the chair of the drafting committee that drafted Nigeria's Obasanjo's economic program needs, and as the chief economic advisor and head of national planning, then went on to become governor of Central Bank. Now I'm coming home to the subnationals. So I understand the intricacies, the linkages between the subnationals, the national, and how the subnationals exist within the context of a larger national macro meta-level environment, the security, the macroeconomic environment, and so on. I dimensioned all of this before I applied for this job. And so, quite frankly, nothing has come to me as either a surprise or some others. But I knew as I was applying that the macro environment was to be mild, a little bit, quite chaotic. I assumed office in 2022 before the current administration, which has come and has had the courage to be able to deal with the multiple but debilitating subsidies that every government has been afraid to confront for life. It's going to be disruptive and bumpy, especially in the short to medium term. But once you tidy over, then we can begin to roll. So we factored in much of this and how it's going to be. For example, like you said, rising costs, cost of construction works, cost of government. I mean, government in the sense of day-to-day, if you've got to fuel vehicles to go to the airport to pick somebody, it's now more expensive. If you're building roads and you need to build drainages, and now you need cement, and you have to buy it at 10,000 or thereabout plus. That's something that used to cost maybe some hundreds or so when I was in government, the case may be. So all these are shocks that, as Soludo, I anticipated that would happen. And so we have built up this, lowered some of our expectations, only to be surprised on the positive. Now, in terms of resources, for example, I give you an example. The resources that have been available to us over the last 3 years that we have spent up until, in fact, projected to the end of this month, converted in dollar terms for each year, 2022, 2023, 2024, up to date, put in dollar terms, it's actually, we've computed it to be just 65% in the aggregate of what was spent in dollar terms in 2013, or 61% of what was spent in 2014. But we have no choice to begin to give excuses. Oh, this has happened. We just to find creative ways, and part of the ways we've dealt with this is to really crunch down recurrent consumption, our waste, and so on. When I came here, it used to cost about almost 137 million a month to do facility management, cleaning up offices. I cut it down to 11 million a month. You know, saving 126 million a month. And that's the way we've gone for 3 years. Our recurrent expenditure has been at a historic 23% of total expenditure, spending 77% on capital. Because I promised Anambra people that every kobo you put in our palms will show you where it is put in. Cost structure, you see us driving in Austin, the curtains you'll find here, that's the way I met them. I haven't changed anything here since I came. The chairs I'm sitting on, that's the way I met them here, in Government House, in Governor's Lodge. Nothing else, except it is extraordinarily very important. We don't spend on it. And to see that it aligns to super objective, where are we getting to? So that initial value for money, extreme attention to value for money, extreme prudence, doing more with less, has helped us as a coping mechanism so far. But also, now that we've begun to put the foundations and the private sector has begun gradually to respond, we're expecting an acceleration in terms of the private sector response with the assets. So to summarize, in terms of responses, that I said it on my inauguration day that there will be no excuses and there will be no complaints. I haven't, like I said, I expected the worst. And therefore, from there, then nothing surprises you, as it were. But I think the way looking up in terms of that external macro environment, the prognosis for the future looks brighter.
Indeed. But
the prognosis for the future looks brighter.
Mr. Governor, some people said that is for you and your government.
Yeah.
For India Anambra, as you know, they're fondly called, how would you say that you have been able to measure, and this is now my question, how would you say you have been able to measure, because I understand you have a saying, what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. How would you say that you have measured, you know, what it is that they have been going through, given where you met them and where, you know, they currently are, 3 years, your term in office?
There are various ways, and we're going to get some of these data, but we'll have also some pollings. And you get to the formal and informal pollings. You get to the people, I'm governor, I walk the streets. And I think there are very few who do that. I go to the markets, I walk the streets with the people, and you get their instant feedback. I was at Onitsha last week. It was electrifying, walking the street with them, and you see thousands of them following and chanting. And I just went on project inspection. And you see, when the people get value, we're testing out a hypothesis here that when you give people value, it translates into greater well-being and feeling. I will be at Oboko tomorrow. That's the slum that we met, biggest urban slum in the southeast, if not in Nigeria, where you have over 500,000 people with nothing. Now, with almost 20 kilometers of roads, street lights, pipe-borne water for the first time, a general hospital, you could touch it. Now, if you have these people and you've given them, and I understand some of the fruits are beginning to now fruit, you distributed about 2 million seedlings to take them out, that will take them out of poverty permanently. Any household that gets 10 of these seedlings, once it starts fruiting 3-4 years, is permanently out of poverty. And you have hundreds of thousands of households with this. You have the youths, where we've gone on to train and empowered 5,000 of them, giving them scalable and marketable skills, and giving them startup capital. That over 3,000 of them now describe themselves as proud young millionaires. That about 4 weeks ago, 1,000 of them came out and said, on national TV, described them as proud young millionaires, that they're now offering to train another 1,000 by themselves and empower them, that we're giving them. And we have another 8,300 whom we're going to empower very soon. If you come anywhere we go and you see these youths, these young millionaires being created here. If you have over 100 and something thousand women who have benefited from free antenatal, free delivery, that's money back in their pocket. And they talk about it. As one skit I was watching yesterday. That's what they were talking, the women that they went to hospital, how they get this. Or you now find parents. There's a surge in our public schools. Parents who used to pay thousands per term for their children, they're no longer required to pay that. And rather, their children are receiving quality of education that they haven't had before, because we now have over 8,000 qualified teachers that were, by the way, recruited through competitive process. We didn't ask you which state you come from. We recruited the best from the country, and we have these 8,115 teachers from 18 states. So that's money back in the pockets of the people. And so when you have the citizens who are, and then they move around their roads, hinterlands that were hitherto inaccessible can now bring out their commodities to the markets. They are getting value. That's what they tell us. The keke driver, the bus driver who gave me money the day we commissioned one of the roads, said that for months after we did some of the roads, he was no longer visiting the mechanic. That's money in their pocket. So when you find this all over the state, some women, market women, I don't know what they were telling me, they want to have rallies. They said they're buying tickets for me, they must pay. They were doing it. You
didn't tell them to convert to taxes.
Well, they said, well, you know, here as well, because of our progressive bent, we've exempted the most vulnerable from taxation. The hawkers, the barrow pushers, the these vulcanizers, all these petty traders who have capital less than a few 100,000, we've exempted them from taxation of any fee. But they shouldn't be bothered, or even the Okada riders. So that's money in their pocket. So in spite of all of it, and then, let me end with this. Pensioners. When I assumed office, pensioners who retire from the state public service were owed for 4 years their gratuity. Those who retire from the local government system, primary school teachers and all those, were owed also 4 years. That's about 14 point something billion for local government, 7.6 billion for the state. We've cleared the one of the state, money back in their pocket. For the local government, we've cleared up to 2020, now remaining 2021, which will be cleared in the next few months. That's money back in their pockets. And when I came to ameliorate the state of, how things were, I'm the first, even before the current federal government was elected in 2023. By January 2023, I had already announced unilaterally 10% increase in salaries for workers here. And even the pensioners themselves, as will have this, will have a bulk sum that we are giving them. So all around, we have tried, we understand where they're coming from, we understand what their pains, and in addition to building massively infrastructure and building for the future, we have also made sure that we care for the people today on a sustainable basis. On a sustainable basis.
Okay, Governor.
Thank you.
I saw two of your projects today.
Thank you.
The Solution Fun City, sitting on about 23 acres. Truly a fun city for children, for adults, for everybody. Now, one of the things you spoke about when we had that gubernatorial debate was about attracting, Anambra people who are billionaires in Lagos to come and invest at home. Is that part of that promise? And then we also saw the new government house that you are building. Quite impressive, I must say. But my big takeaway from there is that, well, Governor Soludo has not said he's looking for a second term. And he has built this beautiful estate, including presidential villa, including administrative block, sports section, all of that beautiful. Are you planning to build that for somebody else who will succeed you? Or that's a statement that you will get a second term, or you are interested in a second term? Because that beautiful building, you would like to enjoy it, won't you?
Ruben, this I think multi-loaded questions. The first is the fun city and about our people coming. I think, let me address that. That's part of the, we're thinking of Anambra as African Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley. Part of the Dubai story, they started off as a commercial logistics hub. But they then realized, as evident in building new places, you must have a place, you must be able to provide those commodities that the elite, the investors will consume. If you don't have it, you will not be able to attract and retain productive assets. And so they added this entertainment leisure that turned Dubai to become a leisure tourism destination. Now, we quickly realized that for us to turn Anambra to become a destination rather than a departure lounge, we needed to quickly put in place those, if you like, consumption goods that the elite, when, Ruben, the next time you come, you won't be in the hotel. All of you, the next time you come, you won't probably, even if you are in the hotel in the evening, you will be in the hotel. In the evening, we'll say, let's go and have a drink at the country club. Because there as well, a part of that whole estate there, you have the country club. Just like they have the Ikoyi Country Club or this and so on, where the elite gather and so on. Now, that's bigger than anything you will find anywhere else. Now you have place of fun. We're also building, we've just cleared, we're building what will become the best and biggest city park. We'll have everything that you need in that city park. That the elite, our new Oka 2.0 and the 10-story Marriott Hotel that is coming, just like Hilton signposted the development of Abuja. You need this where if you have that investor coming from Germany, or even the president of America coming to Anambra, where does he stay? Or if you want Elon Musk to come, you have to ask you, where does he stay? So you need to have those infrastructure that can attract and retain. That's part of laying the foundation, the fun city, and this is only but a beginning, is the first step, because we have a place where we have about 200 hectares that will be the leisure entertainment city as it were. But this is a first step in turning Anambra to be a destination. Now, with the government house, we are breaking the 34-year-old jinx. As I said to you, here you are in the governor's lodge. It's in Anambra. It's in a different town from Awka, the state capital. When the state was created in 1991, this was supposed to be where the chief judge will live. And I think the military administrator commandeered it and as a temporary place. And the government house happened to be the yard for the construction company that built Enugu-Onitsha Road, where they used as their construction yard and their office. That's where they decided to use as a temporary office. And for some reason, the government got stuck there as well, this makeshift arrangement. And when we came, we thought, if we're going to build the Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley, there has to be a place called government. And so we're intentional developing what we call the three-armed zone, where you now have the judiciary, the legislature, the governors, the government house, governor's lodge, everything, all facilities there. As you go on that new 8-lane boulevard, you will feel this is the center of government. As for who will inhabit it, Ruben, we're building to last. We're building for generations the way you have the White House built 200 and something years ago. We're building for 1,000 years to come. The people of Anambra will have a home where they call their home as a government house, not Soludo'S residence. My own residence is 20 minutes from here. I think the next time you come, I'll take you to my village.
Are you seeking a second term? Second term. Are you interested?
Term. You know, very interesting question.
Mr. Governor, clearly you're not going to answer that question just about now, but we'll let you answer it because I know that Dr. Bass is not going to let it go until you've given a definitive answer. We'll take a break at this point. We'll be back shortly. Please stay with us.
Anambra State, Obodo Marama, Ubachake. Anambra State, Obodo Marama. Anambra State, Obodo Marama, Ifadigo. Anambra State, Obodo Marama. Obodo Chukwu Seblowa, Kozeragozi, Ifedi Maneru, Kamiri, Nukwu Chukwu Nenu, Nukwu, Uwanine Nekireki. Obiatovo, Makanabu Moya Anambra. Oburu na nabio wasa, Oya Anambra Kamgamba. Anambra State, light of the nation. Anambra State, Obodo Kechineke, Okosiade. Anambra State, light of the nation. Anambra State, Obodo Kechineke.
Under Governor Chukwuma Soludo's leadership, Anambra State is transforming into a prosperous, livable, and smart mega city.
750 kilometers of roads awarded, 460 kilometers completed, and the iconic Ekulabia flyover constructed.
84,000 antenatal and delivery cases handled, 1,000 health workers employed, and a trauma center built.
What's more, free education up to senior secondary, 8,115 teachers hired, 2,000 laptops are distributed. Only that, over 70,000 youths trained, 100 million awarded to innovators. But wait, there is more.
New government house, Solution Fund City, Obuko transformation, Operation Udogachi launched, Homeland Security bill signed, 2.2 million seedlings distributed.
Local government reforms ushered in with elections conducted. All these and more have earned Governor Soludo Sun Governor of the Year 2024.
Anambra State is truly the light of the nation. We are grateful for your leadership and vision.
Anambra State, solution is here.
Anambra State, Obodo Kechineke.
7, 6, 5, 4.
With Professor Chukwuma Charles Soludo, CFR, Governor of Anambra State. on the occasion of the 3rd anniversary of his tenure in office. I almost said his first time. But thank you for staying with us. Well, Governor Soludo, I was asking you about his first term, second term, now that Anambra State is having a state-of-the-art government house. Just confide in us. I mean, you are not doing that for somebody.
You on national television. Anyway, no, let me put it this way. I remember in those days in the Second Republic, whenever anybody set out to contest for election and you asked him, are you running? He said, well, if my people want me to contest, who am I to say no? But let me put it this way. I applied for the job, and the job is for 4-year tenure, renewable possibly for another 4-year tenure. And we've set out each day working as if it's the last day. And that's the way we have gone, and we're still pushing on that. Even as we speak, I still work as if there's no going to be election. I said this year is an election year. Tell my cabinet there is no such thing as election year. We're elected, and we got to keep pushing every day, as the case may be. Being candidate for the election, that's a decision at 2-3 levels. Number one, I must say, the feedback I get so far from the people, like I said, I walk the streets, I travel all over the state. Tomorrow I will be in Onitsha, or Boko as it were, and all over. I get this, some even write, they tell you 20 years. I laugh. I say, 12 years. This one is 4 + 4. That's what you see, renting the air all over the state. I said to them, I have a contract for the 4 years. So some places I ask them, are you saying therefore? Yes, another. Now, that's the feedback I get, but the party also has to agree to it and provide you the platform. For me, I applied for this job intentionally, because I felt that that's my own way of thanking God for his bountiful blessings, to spend the rest of my life in service, to help to leave this place better than we met it. So yes, if my party nominates me, and if my employers, who are the Anambra people, to whom I had applied for this job, and they interviewed and employed me, if they graciously renew the tenure, of course, it's a great honor, great privilege to serve. And as we serve, we're only contributing to God's own creation by trying to ensure that we live it better than we met it. There will be things for us to consider at a personal level. We still have to have that conversation very seriously. We've had it partly with my family, because before I embarked on this journey, it was a tough conversation. My children, I know 2 of them who were adamant, asking me, Daddy, why? What for? You finished, leave this thing, just finish with public service, just leave it. I'm here to ask them whether they think we are doing well.
So the question to ask is, if an election were to hold today, are you really sure that you get the people's mandate? Because there are people who tell me that you cannot be re-elected. They keep saying, oh, you speak excellent English, but the people will reject you. They even point to the remarks that you made about a presidential candidate before the 2023 presidential elections, and that statement will hurt your chances of a second term. So that's my question. I also wanted to talk about what you are doing on security. People get really agitated when they read about what's going on in the southeast, especially with the desire of some people to keep people in their homes on Mondays?
Thank you very much. I think the bit about, I'm glad this is your first time here in how many years? 20-something?
24 years.
24 years. Yeah, no, you've gone far away. I think we're going to keep you a little bit for a few more days so that we, as we say, we'll put your feet on ground. You see, if the election were to be held today, then you have to put the other way. Election is not a referendum. Even if it's a referendum, I think here in Anambra today,
yes,
the good news for us is that when it comes to local elections, Anambra is predominantly, almost totally, an Apuga state. The dimension this. Even, and I will give you, it was very interesting that you raised comment about the presidential candidate. After my stance, which I made then, and I didn't just say it, I wrote it down for posterity, okay? And nothing that I wrote there has been proved wrong, okay? Even at the frenzy of that moment, we had an election. And Apuga swept the polls. Okay? So that's the little footnote for you to go with. The second is, election is not a referendum, it's between candidates. The person is who is running. If I may tell you, there is what they call also Soludo here. They call it Soludo race. And that is for all these native doctors and so on, running away from Anambra, running to neighboring states and so on and so forth. And there is also some of these skit makers making great, interesting fun of the entire stuff. Many parties have advertised to field candidates, and nobody is picking forms. They say it is also the Soludo'S race. The people are running because you got to contest against something. You got to have something, and you present it to Anambra people. And for me, that's why I said it is the people who are the employers. They are the ones who employed me. They are the only ones who can also review again our performance and so on through the 21 local governments and so on and so forth, and to be able to say, is he worthy to be renewed? But what they tell me, what I hear from the people themselves, is that indeed there will be an election if we stand for it. Only God is in the hand of God, first of all, who determines who is alive tomorrow.
Yes.
But if the election were to be held today, the question would not be whether you win or you win out the local government, but is there any word that we will lose? That will be the question.
By
So,
what margin?
that's the question. Some are saying 1 million, some are saying, but for me, those are not the conversation. The conversations for me is really razor sharp focus on this, because it's an agenda with a deadline. We are running against time. Every 24 hours count, and we will keep racing on that until the whistle is blown. If there is an election, I mean, not if there will be an election, and if I am candidate, we'll be on the ballot, and then we'll ask who else is running. Which party is fielding candidates? Which party is fielding any candidate? I mean, I haven't. I hear some people, some nights, they know. But, I mean, even some of those contestants, no, they can't win their award.
So you're not seeing any opposition? That's what you're saying?
So far, unless the person will, the people will emerge, it will come down from where. But so far, I haven't heard of any.
May I quickly ask
No. The second is yet to answer the second. Hold on a bit.
When it comes to local elections, coincidentally,
I asked two questions.
Coincidentally, because APGA has given to the Anambra unprecedented progressive governance. They have seen value. They have tested value. And each level, we are taking it higher and higher and higher, and they are getting value. The mode of the average Anambra person is, like I said, when my predecessor was running for a second term, if it's not broken, why fix it? And I think that's generally, like, I must say, near consensus of the Anambra. When it comes to national elections, they can vote for anybody. But once you come, and it's very interesting you pointed to that 2023 as an illustration, that even with the frenzy of that moment, an election was held 2 weeks after the presidential election. And everybody would have thought the same frenzy would have swept off. No, Anambra people are very smart. They're smart voters. They moved again 180 degrees back to their base. And that is up there.
Chris?
There is, no, there is a second part of the question, which is, I have not answered. That's the bit on security.
Oh, security. You see, that's why I asked the time that you have been here 24 years ago. You see, you're one of those who are reading the social media. You know, if anything ever, you would think if you cross there, bullets are flying all over everybody's head, so to speak. You've been here since yesterday, isn't it?
Yes.
And it take you around, you see the place possible. I'm inviting you to join me on the trip to Okpoko tomorrow, where you feel the energy, this thing of the people. Today is Monday, isn't it? And you moved around here.
In the hinterland, is that also the case?
In the hinterland, what you'll find is, you see, it's a gradual, I mean, there would initially in the mornings, everybody wants to see how is it, but from about 10, 11-ish, everywhere, you know, gets busy. So it's a thing that has, over time, way before I assumed office, it became almost like a culture where people almost adjusted to now use Monday as their weekend, and use the weekend to do the job of Monday, so to speak. People even use Monday to go to do their exercise and so on and so forth. And we've been trying to tell them now, you come here in Oka here, the environs, and it's nice people, and even now, wow, they sit at home. And then elsewhere, once it's getting noon, everywhere else is quite open. So I think you need to talk to Anambra people who are in Anambra, not WhatsApp. Not the WhatsApp and social media. Even the person who will be telling you that, who will be writing, and you ask him, because we have collective attention to this, yes. We're asking, what are you doing? What have you done for your own community in terms of security? But all I can tell you is that our security architecture is firm, very bold, audacious, and we are on track. Even the criminals know that. Okay. They are on the run. They are on the run. Okay.
Mr. Governor, Anambra State under your leadership has been more like a large construction site. So many buildings springing from left, right, and center. You just referred to the magnificent building we will call the government lodge soon. But there's a story behind this, which is that you are yet to borrow. Earlier you said no excuses, no complaints. What exactly is your excuse for not borrowing? Because it's like it's normal for every governor who comes into every state in the country to borrow. 3 years down the line,
we have not borrowed. No, thank you very much. Let's be clear. Borrowing is not a crime. In itself, it's not a bad idea. If you want to scale up your business and so on, you need some debt. But we've got to be clear, borrowing for what? the term sheet, the text, the context of the borrowing must be clear for me. And I'm very, very frugal. And what I cannot do with my personal resources, I will not do with public resources. That's my template for evaluating what I do. If I were going to borrow that I will pay back at Soludo, will I borrow this money? And so we've defined for government some stringent criteria for borrowing. Number one, it has to be concession. Number two, we're almost constraining ourselves to borrow for, if you like, project finance. Projects that can pay back. Okay? Otherwise, we're not going to borrow for consumption. Okay? And you can't explain it. Before you know it is frittered away and you pile up the debt. No. And that's part of the reason Anambra, we pulled out, under my leadership, from the World Bank loan program that was negotiated before I came here. And I looked at the terms, and I felt that's no good deal. If I were the one borrowing to pay with my money in the future, I would not sign on this. And I pulled Anambra out of it. So last year, some 438 billion was shared. Anambra was the state missing from that. And everybody needs money, especially if you are in government. It's good political economy. Just take it. The future will pay for it. But I looked at the terms of this, and I told the World Bank country director then, when I came in, when I looked at the terms of it, I said, this is the most expensive fund in the world. Even if it's at zero interest with moratorium, it's still the most expensive fund in the world. Because at that time, they were exchanging this thing at official rate of 406 naira to the dollar. When I knew, what I knew, that it's only a matter of, as days will follow night, the exchange rate will be over 1,000 very shortly, because it was being artificially kept to some unsustainable level. And why would I borrow and you give me that at 406, a few months' time, it's 1,000 plus, and you require me to put the interest rate, effective interest rate is over 100%. And then what is it for? You tell me the purpose of the loan is to begin to finance some social, more like Dash, give out handouts to some vulnerable people. Fair enough. But I look at the size of this thing, too little to be effective. And then you put some people under this dope, as it is, and after 2 years or 3 years, the loan is over. What happens to them? They go back to a worse situation. I'm better off to borrow and put into some programs and projects that I can see how, what you call welfare to work. How you create capacity for the future. The loan must create a bridge to the future. If I don't see with clarity how this loan creates a bridge to the future, I'm afraid I will not sign onto it. And so far, we've tried to put our finances on a sustainable path. We have now a set of projects, gigantic projects. We have a rail program. We have drafted the rail master plan that is in place. We're going to be, we have a new Onitsha city that is coming, 5,000 hectares that will become the commercial logistics hub, almost like a new Dubai to come. We have the new Oka city. We have the new industrial city that will be our own Taiwan, as it were. We are taking electricity down to the place to build a substation that will guarantee under Band A to the place. Then, like I said, we have a transport master plan for the state. If I'm borrowing for any of these kinds of specific projects, project finance, this is it and this is how it will be paid back, I can understand it. But if you ask me to borrow, to go and dash people money temporarily, which is not sustainable and is ineffectual, it's like the kind of welfare, some of the welfare systems, some of the Western countries are struggling to pull out of, and they have their debt stuck in it. We don't have the resources to continue to sustain it. I better borrow to give value to that woman, to that farmer in the far-flung place so that I can bring her farm products to the market, rather than to go and give her something to eat for only a day or two and go hungry again for the rest of their life. So, yes, we pulled out of that loan, but every loan thing that we will, if we get into, the stringent criteria must have to be met. For me, in good conscience, that will be the only condition I will borrow.
In other words, you might still borrow.
No, that's what I'm saying. If it meets those criteria, if we're going to do a real program that will finance itself back, why not?
Okay. Let me quickly ask you this, and I think this is a follow-up on one of the questions asked on health. You've talked about free maternal health care for, pregnant women. Do you have any plan for those who are diabetic and also perhaps suffering hypertension?
Well, we take it one step at a time.
You don't have anything on that product now?
No, not immediately now.
Yes.
In terms of as a structured policy. But I tell you, several of our primary health centers, people are receiving free medical attention now. So, but in terms of a grand policy of singling out diabetes or something as, a single one, you also have oncology, cancer, you have, all kinds of ailments in buckets. We're going to come to those. We haven't come to begin to pick them in disease one after the other.
All right, then let me ask you this, and this is very important to me, is talk of values, because it underpins a lot of things that, a lot of things that are wrong with our society. And this is, in a way, long before even your own government, way before this administration, I mean the Fourth Republic. I think it was in the 60s that Chinua Achebe, a renowned son of the soil, son of Nigeria and even Africa, was writing, and he said that, talking about the Igbo worldview, he says, my people have always been materialistic. What has happened is that we've lost the spirituality which guided that. And I see you're trying to bring that back, talking about values. You already say you're consulting with the churches, communities. Do you think that an orientation agency perhaps might make a difference in that regard?
Thank you, Mobe, for this question, because it's one I feel very passionate about. You can't build with all the skyscrapers in the world if you don't have the quality, high quality human beings inhabiting it. They will turn it to abyss the next day. If you have it inhabited by criminals, Yahoo, drug barons, and so on and so forth, they will turn it, they will mess it up the next day. So, our approach to this is really going to the soul of the society. Going to the soul of the society. And you are absolutely right. There's the same Chinua Achebe who said among the Igbos, old age is respected, but achievement is revered.
Indeed.
Achievement is revered. But it's not the kind of achievement that we began to see, where nobody asks you, what do you do for a living? You only throw up money and show money. No, that's not the one that he referred to. In those times, your wealth was counted in terms of the barn of yams that you show. We know you are farm. We know what you are doing. But now they say, no, you don't ask a man what he does for a living. And there is some of these new theologies, and even in the churches, sorry to say that, we're preaching this new prosperity thing, and you tell people, no. God is the money that once you bring money, God will make you rich. You see? No. And we're saying we got to get back. It's not just, we have an orientation agency, but that's not just a job for an orientation agency. We're thinking of an educational system that is holistic and total, where you, when I was graduating, my certificate at UNN said you have been found worthy in character and in learning. You have to be found worthy in character and in learning. So we're going to the basics. From the primary, the nursery, the secondary, the university, it has to cascade from there, going up. We have a legal infrastructure, fighting some of the people doing this, but, and then uprooting their structures out of Anambra. And the crusade to our people is that we must get back to these fundamental basics. And I think so far is beginning to resonate. is beginning to resonate. We're not expecting that something that has taken decades to take hold will change in one night, in 1 month, in 1 year, in 2 years, or 5 years. In fact, I put my expectations so low that if in the end we succeed in having just 5%.
How do you intend to measure that?
No. When I say, I mean,
When you say 5%.
it's a manner of speaking.
Yes.
To say, if out of 100, 5 persons are able to say, I think this makes sense, and they begin to chart a new course, I think we'll be on course to redeeming our society. Because what we have had is a scenario where you come to events and people are throwing out money. And I tell them, that's not money that is made. Nobody who makes money throws it up that way.
We need to take another shot.
You're doing this, your commercials again.
We do this short break, and when we return, the conversation with Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo'S, CFR, Governor of Anambra State, will continue.
Themselves from several of the criminalities going on. And yet they persisted. So, if the people who are doing all of this are not IPOB, they are not answerable to Anambra, then it becomes debatable whether if he comes, he's actually able to, call them to it, because these guys, several of them have now broken out and established very lucrative criminality. It's lucrative. They're making tons of money from kidnapping for ransom. And having tested blood, they're not likely to stop hunting very soon. Now, but the case of Nnamdi Kanu, therefore, for me, is different. For me, there is a legal point of view. Part of the reason I was calling for his release since I came into office and even had to write President Buhari in that regard was that I said, because I thought that we actually, the Igbo, that this whole talk and the quest for this Biafra thing and so on had not been interrogated by the mainstream Igbos. We have never sat down to really have a conversation. That it was important that he comes out and we, himself and those who share his thoughts and views, and those who might have contrary view in terms of the future of the Igbos in Nigeria and the world. And several of us believe that Igbos need Nigeria. Nigeria needs the Igbos. Igbos need Africa. I wrote it in my inaugural address because, I'm not very shy about expressing my view. In my inaugural speech, after my swearing in there, what I'm saying to you now, I wrote it there in my address, that the future of Igbos lies in a bigger, united, fair, equitable Nigeria. And we are also better off. We need Africa, Africa needs us. We need the world needs us. But this kind of conversation, we haven't really, and I've seen Nnamdi Kanu twice now. I visited him in Kuje. I was the one that led Igbo leaders to visit him in Kuje, where he was detained there. It was after that visit that you had flurry of other visits and subsequent release. When he was released, he sought to see me. Unfortunately, I was out of the country, we couldn't meet. But I was still looking for an opportunity for us to have a sit down and have, so we can share these views and say, where do you stand? I think, and I think a lot of Igbos know, that Igbos, as an itinerant tribe, need the land space of the world to fully blossom and realize their full potentials. Yes, every group is talking about marginalization or injustice here or there. This is why we also need to have some national conversations about how do we make this country work for everybody. And that was why I was calling for him, come, if he were with us here in Awka, maybe with some other Igbo leaders and so on, we could be having some maybe daily or weekly conversation around it. So we can even have something that we're talking about. Not some people, some other place pressing, the other people pressing the other. Let me remind you, Ruben. When the Northern Youths issued quit notice to the Igbos, I was the chairman of the Planning and Strategy Committee of Ohaneze and Igbo Worldwide, we took a census of Igbos in the north. And guess what? We came to the, just some estimate of about 11.7 million Igbos in the north alone. If you have a disorderly dismemberment of this country, what a chaos for this tiny place, and so on. There are other visions for the Southeast. Why couldn't you make it a livable and prosperous homeland? Why couldn't you create new prosperity? Why do we keep blaming? So let us come together. We can turn this place to be anything we want it to become. So there are alternative viewpoints. I'd like him to be part of that conversation. And I want him, the legal process, if the courts have asked for him to be released, let him be released, hand him over. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a sit down and interrogate the different views. But a whole lot of this Simon Ekpa and some of this, his band of criminals, took over and turned the thing into a killing spree. Just kill people with reckless abandon. And some of us are just not it. So, release of Nnamdi Kanu for me is different from the issue of security. I separate the two. I don't link the two. Nnamdi Kanu for me is for us to have this conversation about the long-term future of Igbos, and that's a different conversation. For the criminals who are kidnappers, we've given them olive branch. Come out, we train you, we empower you, we rehabilitate you. If you don't, we'll take you out.
So, Mr. Governor, I take it then that you also make a distinction between the course that Nnamdi Kanu was pursuing and the one that Simon Ekpa is pursuing.
I don't know what Simon Ekpa is pursuing. I have no idea what it is about, because I have no idea if he's pursuing any cause other than to swindle people for money. And, it's become a business because people all over the world contribute money for them. And they become super rich. So I don't know what he's pursuing.
Yeah, Mr. Governor, I want to take you back to these big projects that you have, the smart cities that you are trying to create. And I know that critical to the execution of these projects is money. The question is, where will you find all of the money that you need for all of this? And I want to ask about what you have done by way of internally generated revenue to ensure that you can find some of the money that you need for your projects.
We need all the money that we can get, and as we promised in the Anambra, every penny in our palm will show them where this is put in. We're squeezing very hard and producing great value for every penny that we have. On IGR, we have more than doubled our internally generated revenue. Much, much more than doubled. That we met about 1.5 billion, 1.4, 1.5. We're now doing slightly over 4. Our target is to be able to do 10, 15. We're far cry from our target, but relative to where we came, we've more than doubled. But that's still a pittance, because that's still pittance relative to the resource requirements, what we need. Given the inflationary situation and the cost of things, it's quite... when you talk about source of financing, we have a menu of options. Of course, you talked about internally generated revenue, you talk about what we'll get from the federation account, and the next bit should then be debt, for example, debt financing. And alternatively, it's investment, mobilizing the private sector investment. And now that we're beginning to put the pillars, what I call the pillars of opportunity, each day, the expression of interest from the private sector for coming with private capital has been rising. Like I talk about these 11 housing estates under development. It's private resources, not government putting in money. Even these ones that were developing, the Fun City, the Orca Shopping Mall that is nearing completion, is private. We're building the largest drug market in West Africa, Toba. A lot of it is private capital that is doing it. Much of what we're going to be doing with our new, the next Onisha, is going to be driven by private capital. Of course, with the government providing some catalytic capital to spur up this. So the area we hope to unlock, basically private capital or debt that is project finance. Project finance that we hope to also be able to unlock. And those opportunities are all on the table. But we are moving very fast with our own finances, as it were.
Mr. Governor, sometime last year, the Local Government Administration Bill was signed into law. How has it affected or impacted local government administration in the state? And then on a lighter note, many have said, 20 years ago, we knew you in a suit as CBN governor. But now we know you with these apparel. What does this signify? What does it mean? Why the sharp contrast from a suit to this?
Sure. Is it very sure?
No, this is not Ishagu.
No.
Akwete.
You see, this is Akwete from a community in Abia State called Akwete. The cloth name is the name of the community. Oh. And you see my cap as well. You see the eagle. Yeah. That's Nigerian. That's my own Nigeria on my head. I'm an avowed Nigerian. That's on our coat of arms. You see our eagle. Yeah. There, we can write a book about that eagle stuff. But the cloth itself, it's one that we're using to. You can also write a book about it. It's a big statement that we're making with this. You see, we cannot prosper this country. If you listen to Donald Trump, he talks about America first. This country and imposing tariffs on goods from other countries. Because the more you buy from other countries, the more you are creating jobs in those countries, and the less that you have for your own. So it's simple. If we don't patronize our own, how are we going to create jobs? So everybody talks about job creation. But we are all responsible for the lack of job opportunities.
So are you going to make this compulsory in government quarters, at least?
No.
Because it has to catch on for people to be able to make a living.
Let me just share something with you. Even the cost of this has gone up so much that I have received letters of commendations from the community. In fact, some of their prominent people have paid me a courtesy call to thank me because the moment I put up the brand, the demand for Akwete, they can't even meet up. So the women of Akwete have become far richer than they have been, and they can't even meet up with the demand. I know that I have some in the pipeline because this is handmade.
And basic economics, scarcity.
Yes. So this is handmade. They can't even meet the order. I know the order that I placed, and I'm told you will get in June, so to speak. So can you imagine if all Nigerians wear only made in Nigeria apparels? If we wear the Ashok, is that Ashok? Yeah. And the tie and dyes, this is all that we wear. You go to the Southeast Asian countries, you will not see their people wearing, or Chinese, or Indonesia, or whatever. They wear their own local fabrics. If all Nigerians patronize Nigerian fabrics, I bet you at least 10 million jobs will be created.
The local government question, before I quickly check the question.
The local government thing, oh my God, our local government system, that legislation, as if it's Trump, he will say such a beautiful thing. And
clearly you're a fan of Trump. Huh?
I don't know a little bit about being his fan, but that's the way he likes to describe it. He says such a beautiful thing. And the fundamentals are designed to create a system that is fiscally sustainable. Fiscally sustainable. You know, many people don't know that the local government resources is actually primarily targeted at paying the primary school teachers, the primary health, and so on and so forth. That's where the resources go to. They think that this money is meant for governors. I'm still asking, where is this money to be misappropriated by governors? What do you do with it? When you have them in arrears, 14-point-something billion in debt when I came, and so on, and you are trying to get them out of the woods, is to have a system where, relative to what happened in the past, when, for example, they had this, and you will come to a state, 10 local governments will pay salaries this month. 18 local governments fell into. Some pay pension, some are not able to. And in any case, all the staff of the local government system are in a pool. When they were recruited, teachers, for example, they were recruited by the suburb as a pool and posted to different local governments. Thousands of them are now retirees. Who bears the pension if they don't have opportunity to pool funds together to pay the pensions? Because these staff don't belong to any local government. In fact, somebody can work in the local government system without ever working in his local government of origin. He has served in several local governments and now retired, but he has to be paid his pension. Or the staff today, in those days, you used to have local governments where you'll be posting teachers to them, and the local government will say, no, we don't want teachers. Why? Because it will spoil up their wage bill. And so that chaos is part of what our law beautifully cured, where the local government mayors sit together, agree, this is what it takes us to to pay these common services, and then we pool resources together to pay them so that teachers receive their salaries, health workers get their pay, and so on. Then the remainder we then appropriate with our councillors and spend as appropriate. There's quite, I can talk about this and its beauty, and I now see local governments in Anambra building in the last Christmas thing, building stuff, hundreds of millions, building culverts, bridges, roads, and so on and so forth. It's such, I can't think of course, there's room for improvement, but otherwise you're going to have chaos.
Mr. Governor, we're already being wrapped up now. I just want you to quickly tell the people of Anambra State what they can look forward to in the next 1 year, at least, pending when you officially tell them that you're seeking their votes again.
All I can say.
If you may add to that.
Yes.
There are about 179 communities in Anambra. As you are telling them what you intend to do for them in the months and the years to come, will you say you've been fair to all the communities in Anambra State? Because, you know, in the past, some governors have been accused of focusing on their own communities or their own religious group. Have you been fair?
I will tell you this.
In 1 minute, Mr. Governor, we're almost out of time.
The philosophy that has guided us in this administration is what we call one state, one people, one agenda. And being a progressive, with progressive credentials, and deeply concerned about leaving no one behind, we've tried to govern with fairness, empathy, compassion, and trying indeed not to leave anybody behind. So, in terms of infrastructural development, we've actually started with the people in greatest need. Okpoko, that I will go tomorrow. I was sworn in on the 17th, I started work at Okpoko the next day on the 18th. Happened to be in the North Senatorial Zone, that where my predecessor, my immediate predecessor, happens to come from. And the roads that I started, the roads that I'm going to be commissioning, the 5 brand new general hospitals that were built are all in the North Senatorial zone, not in my zone. And so, if you see the way we have prioritized our infrastructure development, Oka North, you have communities that have never seen 1 square inch of road since Adam and Eve were created. We've now given them over 40 kilometers of road. I'm not even sure we have anything near that in my own local government. What drives us is this view of Anambra as one smart mega city. It can't be a mega city, a city with all the corners of the state not being connected in a holistic manner or in a smart manner. So every decision we have taken, empathy, compassion, leaving no one behind, making sure that those in greatest need are touched, those forgotten, those that have never seen this before, whether it is in our water scheme, you will see it all over, our water scheme all over is back in Anambra. Places that never had water before are having water. Places that never had road before are having roads. Those that didn't have electricity, about 30-something communities now connected to electricity grid that never had same before. So our priority is creating one less smart city, because we can't afford to be, I don't know about North Central or South, as it were, in the way I look at Anambra. I see one full Anambra. And what I said to them as we continue to move is that our agenda is clear. There's huge unfinished business. I talked about these new cities that are emerging. I talk about the transport master plan that has been designed, which we are putting in place. Talk about the 10-story Marriott that the piling has finished and we're going on. The Oka new city that will be Africa's green and smart city, or the industrial city, or the next on its axis of logistics and commerce, as it were. As we pull all of this together, our digital tribe, our Silicon Valley, that we will be commissioning very shortly. We've already trained over 30,000, and there is a program for 1 million digital tribe initiative. All of this, and a coterie of more, and deepening the reforms in all the other sectors. Education will continue to be our #1 priority. Health will continue to lead, and so on and so forth. Then, of course, our infrastructural development will never be enough. So, every day in the Anambra, what I can say is that I think there is an American, is that a title of a small book? It's Ronald Reagan. He said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And in the Anambra, you have not seen nothing yet.
I think it's a fine place to leave it, Mr. Governor.
Thank you.
That's been our conversation with Professor Charles Soludo, the Governor of Anambra State, on the occasion of his 3rd year in office. We certainly wish you the very best as you continue, and whenever it is that you decide to present yourselves to the people of Anambra. But we have been together on this conversation with Dr. Ruben Abati of Arise Television, and also Mr. Babajide Otitoju of TVC, as well as Mr. Chris Moloku of ABS News, and myself, Maokwe Ogun Yusuf of Channels Television. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Righteous Invasion of Truth with Dr. Abel Damina.
Welcome to the most exciting event on television, Riot, Righteous Invasion of Truth, presented by the Power Broadcasting Network. Abel Damina is my name, and I'm excited to welcome you to an exciting adventure with the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ. There is a mandate of God on my life to reintroduce Jesus to this generation, equipping the believer to know who you are in Christ, what you have in Christ, and what Christ can do through you. That's what drives me. That's what brought us on TVC television station, to bring you the riches of redemption, to equip you to know who you are in Christ, what you have in Christ, and what Christ can do through you. Help me invite a friend, a family member, somebody, ask them to tune to this TV station right now. I'm telling you, we're going to have an exciting time in the message of Jesus Christ. Now, I have a gift for you today, just for tuning in here to hear me teach the word of God, a free gift. It's a magazine called the Righteous Invasion of Truth magazine, loaded with treasures, with things that will build you up, equip you, and bring you to a place where you are enjoying all that is yours in Christ Jesus. All you need to do today, give me a call quickly. The numbers are on the screen. Send me a text, chat us on WhatsApp, just reach out to us, or shoot an email. But we'll make sure you get hard copies or soft copies of these magazines delivered to wherever you are around the world. Make sure you furnish us all your details. That's number one. Number two,